Hey guys, it's Nick again with BibleBlueprint.org. I hope these videos are helpful to you and an encouragement to you. If you're new to watching us, you can find us on Facebook at Bible Blueprint and on Instagram. And so follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook. You can also subscribe on YouTube to watch these videos if that's something you're interested in. If you have any questions or comments, you can feel free to message us or write in the comment section below the video. We'll do the best that we can to try to answer those questions. Today I want to talk about something that's a little bit different, but also really a big part of the Bible story. A lot of people ask the question, why is the Old Testament important? Do we really need to know what's in the Old Testament? Because really the New Testament's what has Jesus in it. It's what's important to us. As Christians, we follow Jesus. We don't follow the rules and the laws in the Old Testament. That was for the Israelites, and that's true. So we live and follow Jesus, and his life and his actions and the things that he said and did were very, very important. But if we don't study the Old Testament, we're missing a part of the story. We're missing a part of the story that shows how time and time again God intended his people to follow him and they rejected him. How time and time again God would try to make ways so that his people could be his people, and they would reject that or they would go a different way. The Old Testament is important for us because we need to see that. We need to see the love and the mercy and the justice of God in the Old Testament so that we can follow him and trust that his way is best for us. Paul even tells us in the New Testament in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, he's writing to the church at Corinth and he's telling them, be careful, learn from the mistakes that the Israelites made. And so he gives some examples, and I'm going to read the first 6 verses. And he says, for we do not want you to be unaware, brethren, that our fathers were all under a cloud, and all passed through the sea, and all were baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the sea, and all ate the same spiritual food, and they drank the same spiritual drink, for they were drinking from a spiritual rock which followed them, and that rock was Christ. Nevertheless, with most of them God was not well pleased, for they were laid low in the wilderness. And what Paul is writing about there is he's talking about how God brought the Israelites out of Egypt. They were in bondage in Egypt, and God brought them out. And he's saying that the rock that was there, that Jesus was what they were following. They were really, even though they didn't realize it, were following the example that Jesus is. And he goes on in verse 6 and says, now these things happened as examples for us, so that we would not crave evil things as they also craved. We have the whole Old Testament, and it's for our learning, for our understanding, so that we can learn what evil is, so that we can learn what good is, and so that we can learn what God wants from us. And so Paul is writing to the church at Corinth, and he's trying to tell them, you need to study the law, you need to study the prophets, you need to study the poetry. You need to know what God's will is so that you can know what evil is, so that you can know what good is, and so that you can follow the good things. And ultimately that leads us to Jesus. And we're going to follow him, and we're going to strive to be like him. Jesus quoted from the Old Testament. He used it time and time again to make his references and his points. And if we don't know that, then we don't know what he's talking about. And so we need to spend time studying those things and learning about those things and those people and the men who are great and faithful in that time too, so that we can learn how God would have us to be and who God is. Thanks for watching. I hope, again, it's encouragement to you, and hopefully you'll be able to watch more of these videos as we are able to put them out. Thanks, guys.